Hello everyone, this is Science Vines and you're watching the audiovisual chapter of class 11th biology. This is the third part of chapter 18, body fluids and circulation, and we are starting off with the electrocardiograph, ECG. You are probably familiar with the scene from a typical hospital television show. A patient is hooked up to a monitoring machine that shows voltage traces on a screen and makes the sound beep 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 as the patient goes into the cardiac arrest. This type of machine or electrocardiograph is used to obtain an electrocardiogram (ECG). ECG is a graphical representation of the electrical activity of the heart during a cardiac cycle. To obtain a standard ECG, as shown in the figure 18.3, a patient is connected to the machine with three electrical leads, one to each wrist and to the left ankle, that continuously monitor the heart activity. For a detailed evaluation of the heart's function, multiple leads are attached to the chest region. Here, we will talk only about a standard ECG. Each peak in the ECG is identified with a letter from P to T that corresponds to a specific electrical activity of the heart. The P wave represents the electrical excitation or depolarization of the atria, which leads to the contraction of both the atria. The QRS complex represents the depolarization of ventricle, which initiates the ventricle contraction. The contraction starts shortly after Q and marks the beginning of the systole. The T wave represents the return of the ventricles from the excited to normal state, repolarization. The end of the T wave marks the end of systole. Obviously, by counting the number of QRS complexes that occur in a given time period, one can determine the heartbeat rate of an individual. Since the ECGs obtained from different individuals have roughly the same shape for a given lead configuration, any deviation from this shape indicates a possible abnormality of disease. Hence, it is of a great clinical significance. Double circulation. The blood flows strictly by a fixed route through blood vessels, the arteries and veins. Basically, each artery and vein consists of three layers: an inner lining of squamous endothelium, the tunica intima, a middle layer of smooth muscle and elastic fibers, the tunica media, and the external layer of the fibrous connective tissue with collagen fibers, the tunica externa. The tunica media is comparatively thin in the veins. As mentioned earlier, blood pumped by the right ventricles enter the pulmonary artery, whereas the left ventricle pumps blood into the aorta. The deoxygenated blood pumped into the pulmonary artery is passes on to the lungs, from where the oxygenated blood is carried by the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. This pathway constitutes the pulmonary circulation. The oxygenated blood entering the aorta is carried by a network of arteries, arterioles, and capillaries to the tissues, from where the deoxygenated blood is collected by a system of venules, veins, and vena cava and emptied into the right atrium. This is the systemic circulation. The systemic circulation provides nutrients, O2, and other essential substances to the tissues and take CO2 and other harmful substances away from the for elimination. A unique vascular connection exists between the digestive tract and the liver called hepatic portal system. The hepatic portal vein carries blood from intestine to the liver before it is delivered to the systemic circulation. A special coronary system of blood vessels is present in our body exclusively for the circulation of blood to and from the cardiac musculature. So let us look at the diagram of 18.4, which is a schematic plan of a blood circulation in a body. So in short, there are two types of circulation in the human body, which is a pulmonary circulation and a systemic circulation. So the pulmonary artery getting out of carrying the deoxygenated blood and passing it to the lungs, and lungs, from the lungs the oxygenated blood blood comes back through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. That is the pulmonary circulation. And the systemic circulation is that left ventricle passing out the blood to the aorta and then to the whole body parts, which the deoxygenated blood and the harmful blood kind of a thing come back to the right atrium through the vena cava. So this is the systemic circulation. So in short, the circulation between heart and lung is a pulmonary circulation, and the circulation between the heart and the other body organs is systemic circulation. Now, regulation of a cardiac activity. Normal activities of the heart are regulated intrinsically, that is, auto-regulated by specialized muscles or nodal tissue. Hence, the heart is called myogenic. A special neural center in the medulla oblongata can moderate the cardiac function through autonomic nervous system (ANS). Neural signals through the sympathetic nerves part of ANS can increase the rate of heartbeat, the strength of the ventricular contraction, and thereby the cardiac output. On the other hand, parasympathetic neural signals, another component of the ANS, decrease the rate of heartbeat, speed of conduction of action potential, and thereby the cardiac output. Adrenal medullary hormones can also increase the cardiac output. Now, disorders of circulatory system. First is high blood pressure or hypertension. Hypotension is the term for blood pressure that is higher than normal, 120 by 180. In this measurement, 120 mm of Hg is mercury is the systolic or pumping pressure, and 80 mm of Hg is the diastolic or a resting pressure. If repeated checks of blood pressure of an individual is 140 over 90 or higher, it shows hypertension. High blood pressure leads to heart diseases and also affects vital organs like brain and kidney. Second is coronary artery disease, CAD or CAD. Coronary artery disease, often referred to as atherosclerosis, affects the vessels that supply blood to the heart muscle. It is caused by deposits of calcium, fat, cholesterol, and fibrous tissues, which makes the lumen of arteries narrower. Third is angina. It is also called angina pectoris. A symptom of acute chest pain appears when no enough oxygen is reaching the heart muscle. Angina can occur in men and women of any age, but it is more common among the middle-aged and elderly. It occurs due to the conditions that affect the blood flow. Fourth and the last mentioned here in NCERT is heart failure. Heart failure means the state of heart when it's not pumping blood effectively enough to meet the needs of the body. It is sometimes called congestive heart failure because congestion of the lungs is one of the main symptoms of this disease. Heart failure is not the same as cardiac arrest when the heart stops beating, or heart attack when the heart muscle is suddenly damaged by an inadequate blood supply. So here we are actually getting to know that these three things are very much different from each other. That is heart failure, cardiac arrest, and heart attack. These three things are very different. Heart failure is like the heart is not pumping blood efficiently and which is not meeting the needs of the body or the oxygen needs of the body, and cardiac arrest is complete stoppage of the heart, and heart attack is sudden muscle damage in the heart by an inadequate blood supply. So in a way CAD can lead to heart attack. Yeah. So here we end the third part of the chapter 18, body fluids and circulation. To watch more such videos, do subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any video. And if you want us to create more such videos on any other book or subject, do mention in the comment section, like and share the video to keep us motivated to create such content. Thank you for watching the video. Bye bye. Love.